Jane Eyre 1847 by Charlotte Bronte is first person, it has feminist themes, it's Victorian, it's gothic, and it's a
Bildungsroman.
This book has a linear timeline, which means all of the events are in order. There are time jumps, though, from her childhood to her adulthood, but it's still in order, while the movie is non-linear. The opening scene is Jane running in the cold rain and being found by the rivers. Then it cuts back to her childhood. Her childhood is the same in both the movie and the book, which I think is critical. I think her childhood tells a lot about her character and the story. She's abused as a kid. She gets into a fight with her cousin over a book because, remember, this is feminist, though homegirl was reading and he was being a jerk to her and they fight. In the movie, it's so much more like violent than I imagined when I first read it. Like, he literally hits her with the book and like she starts bleeding and then she gets up on him and pretty much like beats the you know what out of him, and it's kind of hilarious. With film, there's so much visual storytelling that is done. There's so much you can learn by just looking. So a huge difference between the book and the movie is the amount of describing that Jane gives us. In the book, it's first person, so we see and experience everything through her eyes, while the movie just shows us what's happening. In the book, Jane tells us that John Reed was a schoolboy, while in the movie, we just see that John is about 14 years old and is kind of evil looking. Filmmakers know how to make a character look evil through casting, costumes, makeup, and styling. Another thing that I noticed is the pacing. The movie feels very fast, but also at the same time very slow. I think this is because the book is first person. She describes everything in so much more detail. You can't see anything, so she's trying to be very descriptive. There's no visual storytelling. Since there's visual storytelling in the movie, there's a lot more that is done in a shorter amount of time. This makes the story feel much different. I would say this almost takes away from the feminist components of the book because she speaks so much in the book and you really hear her voice, while in the movie she's kind of very quiet. But there are times where she does talk and have long conversations with Mr. Rochester and really speaks her mind and is much different, and you can tell from his reaction with her that he knows that this lady that she stands out from other women of her time. Jane Eyre in the movie feels so much more quiet than she is in the novel, and that is because we lose her internal thought in the movie. We don't hear what she's thinking at all, while in the book she does so much thinking.
Do you think me handsome?
No, sir. I ought to have replied that beauty is of little consequence. Nothing freeborn should ever submit to.
Humbug. But I mentally shake hands with you for your answer.
Jane Eyre has a lot to do with confinement, and one of the symbols that Charlotte Bronte uses for this is the Red Room. She's locked in there as a child when she's being quote-unquote bad. In the book, it seems so much scarier than it is in this movie. In the book, I thought it was just horrifying. I thought it was so much smaller and darker. In the movie, she has a wide window, and it doesn't even seem that red. I don't know, since it's called the Red Room, I was assuming it to be, like, blood red. Like, no, like, she has furniture in there. She has room to run around. She has so much room for activities. I was kind of hoping to hear her uncle's ghost, which we hear in the novel, but in this, we just got a dust cloud, which, don't get me wrong, I'd be horrified if I was a little girl locked into a room and that just happens, but it just doesn't feel like the book. The entire movie feels dark, sad, eerie, and lonely, and I feel a lot of this emotion is achieved through the colors on screen and through the music, which you obviously can't get in a novel. The entire plot is the exact same. The major events throughout the novel are translated in the movie. Jane becomes the governess at Thornfield Hall. She falls in love with Rochester. The fire happens, blah, blah, blah. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir was written a lot more recently than I thought it was. It was written in 2021, and this is a first-person novel with lots of imagery. The novel tries to have humorous moments and tries to be casual, but in my opinion, it just does not work. Some lines include, "This is bad. It's really bad. Are you joshing me with all of this? I just wanted some stabby time and didn't care about the tool's integrity." "No," I said. "Well, yes, but it was a scientific poke with a very scientific stick." It took you 2 days to think of poking it with a stick? Both the book and the movie use a non-linear timeline to tell the story because Grace wakes up on the spaceship without any memory. So as he moves on through the ship and starts remembering things, we remember things with him. Though specific flashbacks and the frequency of them are different, there are way more flashbacks in the book than there is in the movie. I think this is because I wanted to focus on the parts where Grace is in space, because since it's a film and they already made they made an entire set for all of this, they most likely wanted to focus on that, which is the objectively cooler part. A really cool moment I want to talk about is when Rocky gets his voice, because this isn't in the novel. Grace becomes tired of reading off the computer to understand Rocky, so he decides to give him a voice. And they go through different voices to decide which one Rocky wants. And the line that they use, they repeat. And the line that they use to test all the voices is, "Why is a school teacher in space?" So they literally repeat this line multiple times, which you obviously can't do in a book. So this is a technique that they use to drill into the audience a question that is a very valid and major question. Why is a school teacher in space? They're drawing attention to this because later on in the movie, we find out Grace never wanted to go in that spaceship. We find out that they forced him on it.
That is a great question.
Why is a school teacher in space?
No,
Why is
no,
a school teacher?
no need.
Why is a school teacher in space?
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 That's not bad.
I like.
All right, and in answer to your question, I have no idea what I'm doing in space. I don't remember.
Another difference I think is so sad, because I thought it was so much cooler in the book, was when Grace realizes that he's not on Earth. He realizes he's not on Earth because he's moving around and he feels so annoyed. Then he realizes why, and it's because the gravity is heavier. So he has this cool moment where he does an experiment where he drops stuff on the floor and times it and then does a bunch of calculations and determines that the gravity is way stronger than it is on Earth. And he has this moment where he goes, "I'm not on Earth." And it's just so much cooler in the book than it is in the movie, because the way he finds out that he's not on Earth is he just looks out through a window. Which I understand because it's visual. You can visually see through the window, and it's much easier.